Hey, and welcome. So I'm going to talk about HubSpot customer interface. So this is when you want to extend HubSpot to work with customers or internal teams. So what is the situation? So there's a situation where, a lot of businesses, they might have external teams who they don't really want to have direct access to their HubSpot, or they have clients that are working with tickets or some type of back and forth activity, but once again, they're just dealing with specific information inside HubSpot, but they don't want to give them access to log into HubSpot to access the data. So there's very common situations. So let's have a look at a few, like accounting, billing, underwriting, working with freelancers, or working with franchises, for example. They might need the ability to interact with specific contacts or specific information or specific tickets, something that's going to require feedback or an action and then hook back into your HubSpot. So what we're looking at is a situation where you want them to share certain information or an activity, but you don't want to give them access because this information is the information of your company. It's not the information needed by these other external parties or these even potentially internal parties in your system. So here's a common situation. So we worked with a client, it's a job placement company, they work with a lot of franchisees. They need the franchisees to update information about customers and also to perform specific tasks when it came to onboarding and other activities of specific clients. So this is a big problem. Before they're handling this through sending emails, messages, back and forth situations. And this is very problematic, knowing that a lot of people ignore their email or get lost. So the process at Hubstart, we have a out-of-the-box built customer portal that interfaces with the HubSpot objects, tickets, and users. So we can set the data type and we can create a login, so we can associate a login so these franchises can only access specific data in the system, allowing those users to interact with the system. So this ended up, instead of the customer needing to build out a new solution, sending communications, um, we were able to take our out-of-the-box our product and place it in front. So their franchisees could simply log in. They get the tasks that they need to. So the same tasks you would create in your workflow assigned to a customer, but we're able to assign them to a third party. They were able to log tickets and update core information. So it was a lot of effort, a lot of information, a lot of lost information. And so for this customer, they saved a lot of funds by bridging the core HubSpot system with these external parties. Another case study is working with a financial company in the funding industry. So this funding company had a variety of ISOs, these independent sales operating people. They come, they go, there's a situation, there's quite a big flow of them. And the process that we did was by using our pre-built portal again, the ISOs now had login and they were able to submit deals, funding deals in real time for their customers. So the great thing was that we could use the workflow consistently that we have, and when they created new deals, they were able to get the response they needed from these third parties. So this ended up basically being a code-free solution just out of the box, quick setup for this funding company, and the ability to scale its sales team without the needing to put every salesperson on HubSpot, because these salespeople didn't work for the company. They were contractors, they were external parties, and they didn't want them to have access to anything but the deals. Each of these ISOs had their own process and operation, but when it came to workflows, how information was submitted needed to be consistent, and the follow-up tasks in terms of getting documentation, in terms of calling the customer, all these processes were inside the HubSpot workflow, but now these external parties had access to these tasks to be able to perform their operations. So there's some other implementations here. We work with a HR company that uses ticketing heavily with their clients. So they wanted to allow the clients to see their ticket progress and be able to comment on their tickets without affecting the core system. So the portal allowed the clients to basically register, log in, and able to track their tickets from end to end. So they knew what had happened, what comments had occurred, and how things were progressing as well through the system. Another one, employee tracking. The client uses a tracking and TIS system for their employees, so we use the pre-built pipelines, education, and tasks to work with their employees. So this was sitting on side the HubSpot, the process, but the employees only had access to specific information to see how they were progressing through the company. So when to use an external portal. So what you can use it for is when you're managing tasks for HubSpot from a third party. This is a very common situation. So quite often the old model was an activity had to happen, an email had to go out, it had the questions in it, people had to write in the email, the information came back, that information then was copied and pasted into HubSpot. This is a very problematic flow, very time consuming flow. So when you need a third party that you're talking to a lot, you can create tasks and you can bind that information directly to them so they know the activities they can do and update the specific fields that you can select that they need to fill in at a certain level. When you need to track and submit tickets are managed by third parties, this is another common situation, working interactively with third parties. So you don't want to necessarily give them access to your core HubSpot, but you want them to handle specific tickets and manage that flow. When you have other third parties, another one, franchises and things where you want to really just allow people to come and go, but you don't want them to access core information. You only want them to access a small part. You don't want to have to register them in your HubSpot system and deregister them. You can just simply control their access. So whatever it is, it's perfect when you have a core system, you have your workflows, you've identified your processes, and you want to keep them in HubSpot, but you want to deal with the third parties. You don't want those people on your system. Freelancers, perfect. ISOs, perfect. Specific operations that don't need to be in your HubSpot, that just need to do very minor tasks that are just interacting it. Franchisees that have their own processes and systems that you need to get specific information from them, but you don't want them in your system. You just want them to be a small part of your workflow, a small part of the actions that you need to take. And this is the perfect place where Portal fits in to your solution. So the results keeps your core team in HubSpot who need to have access, that need to perform those day-to-day operations is perfect. Manage your workflow, data, tasks, and process in HubSpot. You're not splitting it out. You're not creating a new system just because you're dealing with third parties. And work with your third parties in the safety of a portal. Limit the data. Use a task-oriented approach, using workflows so it's consistent with your internal and external teams. We create password protection so everything is secure, and we update all the details based on your setting. So the great thing about this third-party tool and customer portal is that that data lives in HubSpot. Nothing lives locally. All it is the ability to gate and protect third parties in a safe portal between your core operations. So if you're looking at a way, if your teams are sending emails, if you're trying to get information back and forth between different parties, and you don't want those parties sitting in your core team, then customer portals is the perfect solution for you. So feel free to reach out to me and have a conversation about your needs and what you want to achieve here.